Welcome to the video log. Today's topic is midlife transition from retrenchment or career to entrepreneurship. And my guest is Julia Butterworth, who is a creative and digital marketing entrepreneur. And this is Pauliina Mapatha, your career wellness and positive mindset coach. I am on the mission to inspire, support, and challenge professionals and organizations in change, transformation, and wellness. And last week in my blog, I wrote about transition. Transition, the time in between is unpleasant, isn't it? And in that blog, I introduced Beck's transformation journey model. And it explains that after a catalytic change, we go through a process which has 4 different phases. And according to her model, the phases are sort of the end or the death and rebirth. That's the first phase. And second one is dreaming and scheming. And the third one is hero's saga. And the fourth and the last one is the promised land, when you really reach your dreams or your goals. And I'm so happy, Julia, that you've agreed to share more about your own transition in midlife, and which towards entrepreneurship. And Julia and I, we've also had a coaching relationship. Did we start in October, November, somewhere there, and then we?
Yeah, it was September, sort of end of September, beginning of October,
Yeah, and then finished up the early 2021, somewhere February or early March. No, February. It was in February when we finished. And so you're most welcome.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, great. And so tell us, I mean, I explained quickly the transition model. So usually something catalytic happens. So what happened? What made you to look into entrepreneurship, and or what kind of a catalytic change are we dealing with?
So I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I always wanted to have my own business and manage my own time and not have to sit in traffic on the freeway to get to an office at a certain time. And I'd kind of started to venture into entrepreneurship actually a couple of times over the course of my career. And then last year, as a result of COVID, I was retrenched. And that was really the catalyst for me. I mean, it wasn't that I hadn't thought about what I would do if I could do my own business. So I guess I had an advantage there because I had wanted to do something in terms of being an entrepreneur and having my own business. But the event that pushed me to that was, COVID, and then I was retrenched. So that was the catalyst that made me decide that actually I have to do something on my own, and I have to chase those dreams. I'm also, last year I turned 50, so I'm slap bang in that sort of part of my life where I'm starting to think about, and my son was in matric last year, so I'm starting to think about, what am I going to do in the years to come? I've got an opportunity now. I mean, I think being 50 and being in that midlife situation does present an opportunity for you to do things differently and do things the way that you want to do them. I mean, my children are growing up. They are hopefully going to get their own lives in the next few years. And then what am I going to do? So this was an ideal opportunity to really look at that and decide what it is that I want to do and how I want my life to look, once my children are grown, and I can do things differently.
Yeah. So look at you. So you were retrenched. When was that?
I was retrenched in May. So
May
2020. May 2020. So when the lockdown happened, like, it's a year ago, isn't it? It's
like almost a year ago.
This month a year ago. We sort of worked from home, but the business that I was working in was the kind of business that I was working in the recruitment industry in sales. And, during the 3 weeks, or was it 3 weeks, 5 weeks? I mean, I can't even remember, that we were actually on lockdown, that we were forced to be at home. There was really no business happening. So the company wasn't making money. And it was kind of, I would say probably halfway through that hard lockdown, the writing was on the wall that the company, it was a small local recruitment company, the writing on the wall was there already, that the company wasn't going to survive. And I wasn't surprised.
Yeah. So, but I'm just saying why I wanted to say that it's almost a year ago, but like
Yes.
you are talking about it as an opportunity. And I'm just saying, and then you're also talking about several sort of changes in your life. Your children are moving out. Okay, today we focus mostly on the going from career to entrepreneurship, but also like other midlife stuff is happening. And but now then maybe other midlife internal transitions and life facts that children are growing and any other thing. But then there was this kind of a shocking thing which is beyond your control, which was the retrenchment. So what was the most challenging part of this transition? And you are familiar because we use the Beck's model. We every now and then in coaching, if it's a relevant model, we look into it and we say, okay, where are you now and what's going on? So if you think about that model, what was the most challenging and what were you actually going through?
I think at the beginning, and it's interesting. Last week, I hadn't thought about the fact that we're now a year away from when COVID really became a reality and changed everybody's lives. But it has been a triggering event for me in the last week, the fact that we are a year down the road. The first few months were hard. I mean, I feel like it was a dark and cold and really dreary time in my life. It was winter. It got cold. We were confined to our houses. And I had to mourn the death of my career, I think. Like, I was going through that, it was a shock. I wasn't surprised that I got retrenched. I don't even think I was really devastated that I could no longer work in a company. It was the shock of it actually happening. And I had to then accept that this has now happened, but it still hurt. It was hard. It was really hard. And there were days when I didn't get out of bed, honestly. There were days where I forced myself to get out of bed, but I didn't want to. And those first few months, they feel like they were, honestly, as I say, dark and dreary days. But time moves on, and then I remember in September feeling like there was a rebirth. Like, suddenly, sort of, after I had my 50th birthdays in July, so it was sort of the middle of the year. That was quite a difficult time because there was no celebrations. We couldn't get together with family, so we couldn't celebrate the milestone. Plus, it was a hard birthday because it's a big number. Like, when you turn 40, you think that's a big number, but you ain't got nothing. You ain't seen nothing yet on 50. So it was a big number, and it was quite a lot to deal with. But then August came around, and the dreaming and the scheming started. I think that was when I started sort of seeing the light, and it's fascinating to me how it came with the seasons changing, going from winter to spring. But I felt like there was light at the end of the tunnel. And I really started sort of the dreaming and scheming, and what if this could work? And I'd been studying sort of from around about the time that I got retrenched. I enrolled in a course to learn how to run and how to start and run my own digital marketing agency. So I was busy doing that. And I think up until that point, I was really just going through the motions. I was just going step by step, getting up and just doing it because, well, I had to. But the real sort of dreaming about what this could actually mean for my life and how it could impact my life, and how it would be to actually be this creative and digital marketing entrepreneur, and how it would be to get back some financial independence in my later years.
Yeah.
That dreaming and scheming started to become exciting.
Yeah, and often, so you had already, you knew and you had started a course, because sometimes the dreaming and scheming can also be like going through many options and like having so many opportunities, and that can also be a bit confusing, that which way to choose or which way to go. What was it more clearer for you, or did you also have like plenty to look into? And
yeah, I still had plenty to look into, because it's an interesting journey, because I sort of stumbled into digital marketing because I have a lot of hobbies and creative pursuits, and I wanted to try and, I wanted to make a business out of my creativity. And I started thinking about how that would work. And when I started following people on social media and listening to podcasts that females and mothers and entrepreneurs sort of put out there, and I started listening to their content, I realized that there's this whole world of how do you market that business? And I started to get, quite excited about that. So even while I was studying, I think initially I was thinking, was studying it because I wanted to be able to start a business of my own, and how was I going to market it? So I was going to market it. And then I started thinking, well, actually, I could do this agency and I could market other people's businesses for them and help them. And maybe I could also do my own business, sort of my own creative business or my own creative offering that I can do on the side. So I mean, in a way, I'm still dreaming and scheming about all the different options that I have. But I also have to be realistic and say, well, what is going to bring me an income today or right now? And that's what's going to bring me an income today. So yeah, there was still a lot of options that I was looking at then.
Yeah. So
I don't think I really had clarity.
Okay. And then where were you when we started our coaching program in this transformation journey, and where do you think you are today?
I think that when we started the journey, I was still a little bit in the dreaming and scheming, and I didn't have clarity on exactly where I was going and what I wanted to do. And I also didn't have confidence. Like I was still doubting myself a lot. Like, can I actually do this? Would anybody really pay me to offer them a service? Do I have the skills? Do I have the knowledge? Can I really do this? So I was very much doubting myself. I didn't have the confidence that I really needed. I was just doing the steps. So I was just doing the steps, but I didn't really believe in myself. And I think that through the journey that we went on together, through the coaching program, I would say I'm definitely very firmly, and I think we talked about it in the process, being in the, sort of the heroine saga stage. I think I'm very definitely there now, because I've gained through working with you and through the process that we went through, I gained clarity on what I want to do. I also gained confidence that I can actually do it. And I got clarity on my vision and my values and what I want and why I want it and how I'm going to make it happen. And that all happened through that process. So right now, I would say I'm very definitely in the heroine saga, because now I'm fighting to actually make it a reality, because it's not easy. It's hard. It's tough out there. It's tough getting business. I'm still relying largely on my own personal network, people that I know and people that I've met over the years and people who know people, that kind of thing, to bring in business. And I'm certainly nowhere near where I want to be or where I need to be in terms of the business. But yeah, I'm starting, and that's exciting.
Yeah. And what are you celebrating? Isn't it the hero saga or heroine saga, it's all about working now towards your bigger goal, or towards that your vision, or to that dream, or Mapatha Beck calls it a promised land. So even if you said that you are not yet there, so I'd like you to tell the audience that what are you celebrating? What are the wins, and what keeps you going in this hero saga phase?
You know, it's every time I talk to somebody about what I'm doing, and they either express an interest in using my services or tell me about somebody that they know that could use my services. That's exciting. Every time I have, every time I have a client that actually pays me for my service, that's a win. In fact, I've stopped, in the beginning, I was also doing some things for free, just getting my feet wet and offering, sort of small services to people for free. And I'm not doing that anymore. And just recently, I actually spent some time reevaluating my financial situation, looking at where I am financially. And what I realized is that whilst I haven't yet made significant money, I've covered all of my expenses.
Yeah.
So excluding the sort of the training costs that I've incurred, because paying for courses and that sort of thing is expensive. But my monthly business expenses I'm managing to cover, and that's a huge one, because I'm not in a position, as having been retrenched, I'm not in a position to pay, for business expenses. So the fact that I'm just covering that is a huge win for me. And every day, the fact that I'm feeling more confident, and then I can get up and I can sit down at my computer and I'm going, okay, well, where am I going to get some clients today? And what can I do today to try and get some clients? That's a huge one, because there was a time when I was thinking, this is never going to work. I'm never going to get a client. Nobody's going to pay me.
Yeah. So also, I think it would be good if you can share that dream of yours, or that how does that promised land look like? What are you working toward?
So for me, the promised land is it's financial independence. So having the financial freedom, being able to support myself completely, and also having the flexibility. So one of the reasons that I decided to do the digital marketing business is because it's a digital business and I can take it anywhere. So ultimately, for me, the promised land is not I live in Gauteng at the moment, in South Africa, but my goal is to actually live at the beach, to live at the coast. And so I'm building a business that's going to give me the financial independence to make that happen, and also the portability to be able to work from anywhere, and not be confined to a specific area or a specific location. It's also why I ditched the corporate world, because I don't want to have to go to an office that's in a specific place.
Yeah. And how about, I just remember this, and even in your, like, that you are a creative and digital marketing entrepreneur. So what about the creative side? And actually, for listeners, I'm one of Julia's clients also. She's helped me with different marketing things, and for example, my logo design is her handwriting, or how would you say, in her graphic design, So how, like, I think one thing in midlife is often we also review what we're doing, and we start calculating, this is now the midpoint, and how many years I still have, and am I really doing and spending my time the way I want to spend it, and am I on course with my passion, with my purpose? Am I leaving a legacy? All those kind of questions, they're the normal sort of midlife questions, and for some of them they come earlier, and I think by 50 most of us, we would have somehow started to review what's going on. So tell me about also the promised land. How does it look like in relation to not just entrepreneurship and work and finances? I often talk about either financial paycheck and then the emotional paycheck.
Mm.
So what about the emotional paycheck? What about, spending every hour and every day, rest of your life on doing something? Are you doing something that matters to you?
Mm. So I think, that's also where I have, I've looked at all of those things. What's my purpose? What's my plan? What am I going to do for the rest of my life? Having children take up a lot of your time and a lot of your resources, emotional, as well as your, sort of financial and physical resources. But I'm so great. I'm really grateful that I see this as an opportunity. But I've gone back to thinking about all the things that I enjoyed in my youth, things that I enjoyed as a child, things that I enjoyed as a teenager, as a young adult, even, just before I had children. So I've always loved photography. I love arts and crafts. I paint, I draw. With the digital world, as I say, I do digital photography and digital design and the graphic design. And in the promised land, I spend a lot of my time working on those pursuits and potentially even making some money doing those things, and not just on the marketing side. So it's exciting to be able to think that, life's kind of come full circle almost. So I've gone through a transition and now I'm back to, I want to go back to doing the things that I've always enjoyed and things that I haven't made time for in the last 20 years, raising children, things that I've neglected.
Yeah, that's making space for what really matters to you.
Yeah.
I mean, not to say that children don't matter, but now that they are older, it's the what people call a second act.
I'm ready for my second act.
That's great. Now, if you think about other people who are going through some major catalytic shock or change, or it sometimes, and I think that's what really pushed you over the over that thing to really start totally a new thing and your own business. What would you say to other people who experience and are maybe just in that catalytic change, and maybe like you shared that the first months were quite tough and the mood was low? What would be your message to other people?
So it's such a hard one. I want to say, like, we talked about in the coaching, we talked about the waves. And I think when I look back and, they don't say hindsight is the best sight for nothing. When I look back, I just rode that wave until the wave basically just ran out of steam, just there was nowhere left for it to go. So I really I just rode it, but I also kept doing small steps and forgiving myself if the small steps that I took today were not the big steps that I intended to take. So, when I was doing my course, for example, we had weekly assignments that we had to do. And some weeks I was on point and I managed to get my assignments done and I did all the work and I sent through my my assignments for evaluation. And other days I had to ask my coach, in the course for forgiveness and say, I haven't done it yet, but this is my deadline and this is where I'm going to do it. Because there were those weeks that were just hard. But I kept putting that one step in front of the other and I just kept moving forward. And as I say, not putting myself under tremendous pressure that I had to be at that point right away when I actually just physically and emotionally couldn't do it. So it may have taken me a little bit longer. As I said, there were times when I was behind my colleagues that I was busy doing the course with. But to forgive yourself for the fact that some days are going to be hard, and that's okay. You can have the hard days. It's what you do at the end of the hard day that really matters. If you can have the hard day and get up tomorrow morning and keep going, then at the end, yeah, a year later, you'll look back and say, wow, I actually made it through that difficult time.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, you're talking about the adaptation to the shock and change, and how it can be really a deep dive, and then it's not a linear, straightforward
No.
journey. It's like a roller coaster sometimes with backslides, which can be horrible. If I'm just thinking physically being in a roller coaster and going backslide, so that's that is the uncomfortable, unpleasant, scary feeling. So that's the thing, to be gentle and just take one step forward. And you've taken so many steps forward. And you've set up your business, and you are already serving clients, and you are working towards your promised land. Would you like to tell what are your, like, what is, well, you've told a little bit, but maybe just tell what kind of services do you offer, and where can people find you?
Okay, so my mission is to help female entrepreneurs to market their business online. So I do that through, I mean, I would say probably three pillars. The one is the design side of it. So designing logos, putting together brand kits for businesses, designing websites. I can also build websites, not on the coding side. Can't do any computer coding, but I can do all of the design and layout, etc. for websites. So that's the one thing. Then the other thing is really around content. So content for social media, and content for email marketing, building, so that entrepreneurs can build their own email list. So there I do both the copywriting, so the actual physical content, as well as the graphics and the images. Or I've worked with entrepreneurs who have their content already, and then I've just helped them to edit that content, put that content into a newsletter format, into a blog format, whatever sort of format they want to use, and make sure that that's automated and gets to their clients. And then the third tier for me would really then just be around advertising, so building sales funnels and advertising services predominantly on Facebook. I have done a little bit on Google, but I don't profess to be an expert on Google, so predominantly on Facebook. But I think for female entrepreneurs, that's kind of where their audience is at. So yeah, that's my service. So it's really quite a full service boutique sort of agency. I can tailor-make projects. I do tailor-made projects for entrepreneurs based on whatever their current need is, projects that they want to run, that they need assistance with. And then I also work on monthly retainers. So clients who want to actually retain my services on a regular basis. And it's really about delegating that task, because writing content and designing graphics and that side of the business can be incredibly time consuming and take entrepreneurs away from what it is that they need to focus on, which is whatever their core business is. So I help them to delegate that sort of task to me so that they can free up their time to focus on the things that only they can do. Yeah.
So what's the name of your business, and where can people...
So my business is called Pivot Digital Hub. And yeah, it's all about pivoting, isn't it? And you can find me at www.pivotdigitalhub.com.
Great. So all the things, how to contact you and everything is on your website.
Everything is there.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Julia, for sharing your journey and where you are at your journey. And it's so encouraging to see that, obviously the pandemic has really touched many people's lives in a shocking way. And in the beginning, we might not see the light in the end of the tunnel. But if we look at you now, how you found your opportunity in that challenge, and I'm so proud of you, how far you've come since that catalytic event, and how you are working and making your heroine saga and towards your dream life. it takes courage, and that you certainly
Indeed.
have put in place. And I love your company name. It is indeed so timeless, Pivot Digital Hub. And if we think we all need to be agile in our and pivot, both in our businesses, but in our lives, in our personal lives.
Yeah.
And so this is one transformation journey, one example of a transformation journey that Julia has just shared with us. And most of us, we go through a couple of them, or several of them during our lifetime. Should you want to go deeper into what is transition all about, you can find my blog from pauliinamapatha.com, and you can, if you are interested in getting some assistance and support and expertise in either creative side of the things or the actual marketing side, Julia is your go-to person. So in the show notes, we still put these links. So her website is pivotdigitalhub.com. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It was lovely to talk to you, and I hope that people who watch it get something, a small nuggets of something that they can use.
They certainly do.